Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Mayor Rankin.
Here.
Vice Mayor Walter.
Here.
Councilmember Woolridge.
Here.
Councilmember Hawkins.
Here.
Councilmember Glean.
Here.
Councilmember Anderson.
Here.
Councilmember Wall.
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start off with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. Would ask you all to stand. Tonight, let's keep in mind that day of infamy, 1941, Pearl Harbor. The many soldiers and sailors that died in that day, let's keep their families in our prayers and our wishes and thoughts tonight as we stand in a moment of silence. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. This is the first call to the public for public comment on issues within the jurisdiction of the town council. Council rules limit public comment to 3 minutes. Individual council members may respond to criticism made by those commenting, may ask staff to review a matter raised, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. However, members of the council shall not discuss or take any action on any matter during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. I don't have any slips. Does anyone from the public like to speak? Seeing no movement, I'll close the call to the public.
Item 6, presentations. Item 6A, presentation by Scott Barber, Human Resources Director, on the work of the League of Arizona Cities and Towns Public Safety Pensions and Task Force. Mr. Barber?
Mayor Rankin, council members, glad to be able to make a presentation this evening. I'm going to try to squeeze this presentation into just a little 15-20 minutes here. But as you know, the town of Florence, by law, participates in the public safety personnel retirement system for our police department and our fire department. The system, over the course of time, has experienced some difficulties financially and came to a place where the League of Cities and Towns decided to put together a task force to try to deal with some of those complexities. And this evening I'm going to talk about the work of the task force. There are 15 members part of the task force, 5 from the League of Cities and Towns, 5 from the Arizona Governmental Finance Officers Association, and 5 from the Arizona City and County Managers Association. I was asked to serve as a league representative and was pleased to do so. Tonight I want to talk a little bit about the overview of the task force and key observations, discuss what the work product was, and it's called a yardstick. The task force did not come forward with a plan, but rather the yardstick. So as others began to develop concept for a plan or suggested solutions, they could be held up to a yardstick in terms of what are the positive attributes of a good plan, what it would look like, and then to discuss the calendar and the process just a little bit. Made this presentation, members of our task force have made this presentation a number of places, and I made the presentation down in Oro Valley, over in Globe, over in Casa Grande, but didn't make it here because, as you'll see, our circumstances are pretty good compared to other folks, and that's good news. But we are seeing some legislative activity in advance of the coming legislative session. So after talking with Interim Manager Garcia, we decided to take a few minutes to bring the presentation to you so that as you see these proposals come forward, you'll be able to have a little context within to work. So, again, I spoke about the formation of the task force. It was formed in June of 2014, partnership with the Arizona City County Managers Association and the Finance Officers Association as well. 15 members, and the task of the group was to review all aspects of PSPRS, identify areas of improvement and reform recommendations. And we were to report our findings, our results back to the League, and in fact that did happen at the League conference in August, and the League adopted the work of the task force. It was an interesting journey of a year of our meeting, and we spent more than half of that time educating ourselves as men, getting information, presentations from leading experts, if you will, around the country. All of the materials that the task force reviewed actually were posted up on the League's website. And you go to the League's website, check the legislative issues box, the pension task force line, and there's a tremendous number of documents there if you're interested in detail. A little overview of the public safety personnel retirement system. Unlike the Arizona state retirement system that all of our non-public safety personnel are part of, that's one big system. Teachers, government employees in city and county and state. PSPRS is different. There are 256 separate employer groups. For example, here in the town of Florence, our fire department and our police department are separate employer groups. So there are 256 separate individual plans, and each one of those plans is rated individually for the employer's contribution. So some of our very, very small entities find it very, very difficult because they don't have very many people to spread that across. So to say we're all in the same boat would really not be correct. We're in the same ocean at 256 separate boats. There's about 32,000 active employees and retirees in PSPRS, and the same benefit structure exists for all groups. Even though there's 256 separate groups, the benefits are all the same. And the financial contribution varies by plan. The financial condition varies by plan. And some recent changes to reporting requirements of the Government Accounting Standards Board have really brought new light on accrued pension liability. And in fact, that is now being reported on all of our financial reports or financial statements about our accrued pension liability. Right now, and the new numbers just came out last week, as of June 30th of 2015, the fund overall is about $6.483 billion underfunded. Now that's a bit of a strange number because we know those liabilities don't come due today, they come due over the course of time, but that is a rather large number. The employer contribution varies according to the plan. Again, each plan is rated actuarially. So your rate one for one may be, as you'll see for us, maybe 15%. Down in another community, a smaller community, 90%. So the idea is that the percentage represents for every dollar paid in salary, that percentage is paid toward public safety retirement contributions. The employee rate, though, is fixed by statute, and it's currently at 11.65%. So whatever the employer pays, the employee contribution is fixed by statute. Some key observations about the current system. The unfunded pension liability is debt, and again, the GASB requirements require us to have that reflected as debt. Any reform that might take place to the current system will not reduce current unfunded liabilities or debt. That's real debt, and it's not going to go away magically. I think there's a lot of folks out there with student loan debt, for example, that think that somehow they're going to be rescued from that. But all indications are there's nobody that's going to save us from our pension liability. We've got to figure out a way out of it, and that was part of the work of the task force. In addition to that, PSPRS is nibbled around the edges, making changes that they could make to try to impact the unfunded liability. One of the changes they made, actually two of the changes they made, actually came up with legal challenge. And one of those, which I'll call a little bit later on, was called the Fields case. And Mr. Fields was the named plaintiff in the case. And that had to do with altering benefits that were promised to those folks who were already retired. And the courts basically overturned the action of the state legislature and PSPRS, and that brought a liability back into the system. Another case has recently been accepted by the Arizona Supreme Court for review. It's called the Hall case. And the Hall case is exactly the same thing. You can't change pension commitments to those who are not yet retired. And so everybody's waiting for the courts to hear that. Interestingly enough, Mr. Fields and Mr. Hall are Judge Fields and Judge Hall, both in the the elected officials retirement system, which is a part of PSPRS, but the court ruling applied over the whole system. The other observation is we all have to actively manage our pension plans. And I got to tell you, for many of us who've been doing this a very long time, you know, the pension program tells us what our contribution rate was, and we loaded it up into our budget and we paid it, and without a lot of thought to this is an individual pension plan and pension liability. So it's incumbent on all of us, all 256 of us, to know our numbers and to implement recommended practices along the way. We've got to begin to actively manage our pension program. So here's some specifics about our police department and our fire department. When I said a while ago, we're in pretty good shape. I really do mean that. So compared to accrued liability of almost $6.3 billion. Our employer contribution estimated for last fiscal year, $221,399. So our contribution rate, and again, you contribute for pension and then for health insurance benefit, but the pension one is our focus, is 15.04% in our police department. And we have an unfunded liability there as of 6/30/15 of a little over $500,000. You think, oh, that's a lot of money, but the fact of the matter is that over the course of time and in the big picture, it's really not. So percent funded as of 6/30/15 is we're 90.5% funded. And a rule of thumb out there that we learned really is kind of bogus is that if you're 80% funded, you're probably healthy. That's not really true. We all need to aim for 100%, but that gives you the picture. And as of 6/15, we don't have anybody in deferred retirement option program, and we have 6 retirees. So a lot of where we are is simply because of our demographics, our history and our demographics. Some of the more mature pension plans, if you will, have been around for a long time, lots of people in them, lots of retirees, have you. But you can see there, as far as our police department. On the fire side, you can see our employer contribution estimated for last fiscal year, and our rate for pension is 11.27%. And as far as our unfunded liability, we're actually to the good in the fire department side to $359,501. These change every year. And this is a reflection of the demographics in our department. And again, demographics is the overall maturity of the plan as well as the age of those who are in the plan. As you can see, that should say as of 6/30/14, and it should say 15. We don't have anybody in the deferred retirement option program, and we have no retirees. So we have to understand that those numbers are going to change over the course of time, and we have to pay attention. So here's some employer recommended practices that our task force formulated that we put out to everyone out there. And there's some things that we can do. And if you have anybody in the deferred retirement option program, what they're able to do is for 5 years, they're able to, quote, retire, and then they no longer make contributions to the retirement system, and we don't match. And they can do that for 5 years, and their pension benefit gets put into a drop account. It earns interest, and it's available to them at the end of the 5 years, or if they leave sooner, it's available to those. So if you have somebody in the drop program, you stop making employer match, if you will, and you could continue to make those payments into the retirement system to mitigate unfunded liability. We could prepay our contributions at the beginning of the year. Some entities have figured out an estimate of what their contributions will be for the year. They're prepaying that, and the interest earned in the investments in PSPRS is better than in the local government investment pool. So there's some float there that accrues to your benefit. One other thing is to not defer the results of the Fields case. Everybody got a bill, if you will, for the Fields case liability. We moved in the direction of prepaying that, and ultimately the town of Florence decided not to prepay that. So the results of Fields for us is spread in the rate over 3 years, and it gets kind of complicated from there. We can review our local board practices, which we always do, compare a comprehensive study. Don't really need to do that right now. take steps to pay off our unfunded liability earlier. I know of one entity out there that instead of cash flowing capital projects, they actually debt funded the capital projects and took the cash and put it against their liability, their pension liability, and then create a pension funding policy. Those are practices that could be coming our way at some point in time in the future, depending on our circumstances. So the work of the task force was to put together this yardstick. It's a measure against which all proposals for reform or a new program could be matched against. And the yardstick's intent was simply identify the goals, characteristics, elements of a viable and sustainable public safety pension system for the state of Arizona as a tool to evaluate our current system and reform proposals that might come our way, and as an aid in the public discussion. Its components, as we developed, we wanted to make sure that it was a defined benefit plan. One alternative out there, and it was actually voted on in the city of Phoenix, was to move to a defined contribution plan. That is a 401k type plan. And I think a lot of folks went into our work thinking that that was a viable alternative, but one of the things that we did find from the experts and from working the numbers is that the defined benefit plan, the DB plan, really is a better plan for public employees, and it doesn't really cost anymore. 401s transfer the burden of responsibility, if you will, onto the employee. The defined benefit really keeps it over on the employer in terms of investments and those kinds of things. We want to make sure it's free from legal challenge. We don't want to repeat the mistakes of Fields and potentially Hall. We want to make sure that whatever's done is going to be constitutionally allowed. We're really looking at a new statewide system. The final conclusion was, because of the constraints of the Constitution and the law, there really wasn't anything to do reform-wise to the current system. We need to move to something else and continue. Everybody that's in the current system stays in the current system just exactly as they are right now. But the first, you draw a line in the sand, and then the journey of 1,000 miles begins with the first step. So everybody coming on board whenever the legislature might be able to craft a new system is in a new system. That's been done several different times, including in the state retirement system over time. We also wanted to pay attention to the plan elements of a statewide system, exactly how it was built and how it was constructed, so that for the long haul, it could be sustainable. And then finally, the governance structure. We wanted to make sure that we had experts in any plan that might come forward or reform. We have experts that are making the decisions based on good, sound data. So we're going to run through these very, very quickly. One, we talked about defined benefit plan. The pension benefit is predetermined by a formula based on employee compensation, age, and tenure of service. We found that the DB plan is more effective for public safety because it pools assets. It addresses the ratio of years of service, length to retirement, and defined contribution structure was studied in this. But we really feel like, particularly in the area of public safety, this kind of public service, a DB plan is definitely the way to go. And the allure of a 401 type plan, because everybody else has one, really gets in and out. We want to make sure it was free from legal challenges, so all current employees and all current retirees would stay exactly where they are. We can't change those benefits. The courts have ruled under constitutional provisions. So we want to make sure that it avoids diminishment or impairment of benefits, because that was the basis of legal challenges. And changes to current employees or retirees are expected to be litigated and upheld. The presumption is, we already know what's happened in the Fields case, and we know how much it cost. We think that we're going to make a presumption that the Hall case will follow exactly the same. New statewide system, if the legislature is able to do its work on July 1st, 2016, we would hope that everybody that was hired after that could enter into a system that would be a new system. We'll talk about that in a little bit, that would avoid possible legal challenges, and the existing system would stay until all members were passed away, and it's been previously done in ASRS and PSPRS. There's a multi-tiered system in the current PSPRS program. Plan elements, number one is pooled assets and liability. We want to be able to spread the risk across the broadest base. Extreme financial exposure exists under the current system because we have 256 separate units, and each unit bears its own liability. A good example is the action taken in the city of Prescott based on the the Granite Mountain hotshot tragedy that was there. Action that was taken subsequent to that created a $70 million liability for the city of Prescott. It turns into about $165 per resident of unfunded liability. The city of Prescott took a sales tax initiative to the voters a few months ago asking the voters to approve that, to put on this liability. The voters turned it down. And so the city of Prescott is trying to figure out some way that they can deal with $70 million in unfunded liability. We also want to make sure it's consistent with service, that the pooled assets and liabilities are consistent with services performed across jurisdictional boundaries, just like the Arizona State Retirement System is. It's kind of common across the way. It's one big system and spreads the risk across everybody. We want to make sure it's fully funded. At least assets to equal liabilities over any economic cycle. The key is that over the course of time, economic cycles ebb and flow. But over a long period of time, we want to make sure that it's 100% funded. Taxpayer and member equity is achieved at 100%, because if it's not, costs are transferred to future taxpayers down the road. And one of the first questions I got in my first presentation is, wait a minute, if you create a new system, how are you going to pay with the old system? And that was an admission that the possibility exists that you have to have money coming in the back end to pay for people who are already retired. And if you think that sounds like maybe like Social Security, is exactly right. So we want to make sure that there's what they call intergenerational equity. We want to make sure that the people today pay for the liabilities today, and not those that come behind us paying for us. So that was important. Equal cost sharing. We know that in Arizona State Retirement System, the employer and the employee pay 50-50 shares, and we think that's a good neutral position to take. We also want to make sure that benefit increases are paid for. If you're going to increase the benefits, you have to pay for them. And those analyses need to take place, just like in Arizona State Retirement System. Again, funding new benefits or benefit increases, funded as a system component and only if the system is determined to be fully funded. Unfortunately, what happens over time, it's happened in our state and other states as well, during times of economic boom, there's a feeling like we can enhance benefits and it really doesn't cost anything. Ultimately, it really does. So we want to make sure that the analysis is done correctly at the time the benefit increase is given. That's fine. Those decision makers that want to make that decision need to do that. We need to make sure it's paid for. Otherwise, the hole starts getting dug and continues to get deeper. And that aligns with the equal cost sharing element as well. We also want to make sure that there's a philosophy here of maintaining purchasing power on behalf of our retirees. Retirees' pension shouldn't gain or lose relative value. What that means is that we're going to have some kind of a component for cost of living increase along the way. The current structure in PSPRS of cost of living is one of the reasons why it's in the situation it's in. Current structure functions as a dividend on returns, and we want to build that in some other way. But we want to make sure that it's fair, that the relative position is maintained over the course of time. This one is rather important. In our system here in Florence, like a lot of other places, we have what's called a Section 218 agreement, and that dictates who's covered under Social Security and who is not. And under our Section 218 agreement, our police department, our police officers are covered under Social Security. Our firefighters are not. And that's an extra cost that we pay of 7.65%. On police officer, we don't pay on firefighters. And we know that over the course of time, there are a number of other kinds of things, of offsets or what have you, but we identified the fact that there's typically three legs in a stool: personal savings, Social Security, and retirement. And we want to make sure that all three legs are there in the fire side. So we raised this issue early in the task force, and what it would be was create a mandatory employer match defined contribution plan, not defined benefit, but defined contribution plan, for any members, whether police or fire, who are not in Social Security. So it takes the place of that and puts us back in a position of equity. Governance structure, system design, funding policy, and investment policy. If we had one system, like there is in Arizona State Retirement System, we have one set of financial information, one funded status, one set of performance measures. And the Board of Trustees needs to be independent, qualified experts with fiduciary responsibility of ensuring compliance with plan elements. With transparency, making sure that we have experts, they're getting the right information, making decisions based on that information. Obviously, we're all accountable for the public monies. Administration right now, obviously there's an administration, PSPRS, they've just promoted a new director that has been in the system for a while. but it's fragmented in terms of all of the individual systems are required to have local boards. We have a local board for the fire, local board for the police. They're the gatekeepers for the system. So right now, Councilmember Wall, I think, who serves on our board? We have pension board, Councilmember Galeen serves on our pension board rep. We have a couple of members of the community, and we have a couple of members of the department. And they make decisions coming in and documenting things when we have somebody coming on board in police and fire department. And also, if we have a request for a retirement, particularly a disability retirement, that is adjudicated by the local board. And sometimes you get different interpretations based on 256 entities. So we want to make sure that the yardstick says that we have a consolidated, one independent disability committee of qualified experts with an emphasis on cost, customer service, education and training, and accessibility of information, because there was a lack of really of consciousness about what the PSPRS really was. Speaks to the issue of the training and education. So we started our work in June of 2014. We worked for a year putting the yardstick together. It was a tremendous learning experience. We went out and we had stakeholder groups that were in our meetings. We had presentations from a number of groups, including the International Association of Firefighters and others that brought information to the table. We had meetings. The PSPRS held meetings all around the state, informational meetings. And then we developed our final recommendations, and they went to the league at the annual conference, and the league adopted the yardstick. So that is now the official position of the league, if you will. There's been a legislative pension group headed by Senator Lesko particularly, but also Representative Olson, that was trying to bring all the stakeholders together to try to figure out a good direction to go, and our task force work was certainly a part of that. And I understand basically there was a report that I received from our league executive director, but there's also a story in the Arizona Capital Times recently that work group has made some good progress, and they expect to be able to have a proposal to present to the legislature when the session opens in January. But there's other scenarios out there. The firefighters had a proposal, fire union had a proposal, police union had one. There's also individuals that discuss hybrid plans that are a cross between a 401k and the 403 plan that we have, the DB versus the defined contribution plan, and others that really think we should move to a 401k type plan. So I don't know how many legislative proposals there's going to be made, but I wanted to present the information to you from a yardstick perspective so that you can reflect back on that, and as those that might come to your attention, and you can just decide whether you think they're good or not. Takeaways from a session here, and I'm run out of time. Any reform is not going to reduce unfunded liability, and again, we're in pretty good shape. One of our neighbors has about 37 million in unfunded liability, and so sitting here, we're about 300 to the good on one side, about 5 to the bad on the other. Is a good position to be in. We need to actively manage our plan, and we've had discussions at staff level, had discussions with our finance director about how we might do that going forward. The current system is unsustainable. There's nobody out there that says everything is going to be okay. And that's the talk for a very long time, and I'll show you a report in just a moment that says it's not going to be okay. Reform is needed, and the yardstick developed by the task force is a tool, not a particular proposal. This was a performance audit that came out in September from the Office of the Auditor General about PSPRS, and talked about the system's redefined benefit plan's ability to meet future retirement obligations is deteriorating because of required annual permanent benefit increases, those are COLAs, and lower than expected investment returns. The system and the legislature have taken actions to improve the plan's long-term sustainability, but their long-term sustainability remains at risk because some actions did not withstand legal challenges and were ruled unconstitutional. Changes to providing annual benefit increases would improve the plan's long-term sustainability, but require statutory and maybe constitutional changes. The system also needs a funding improvement strategy that outlines actions that be taken to improve plans' funded statuses, and should consider the feasibility of offering a variety of benefit options that will allow employers to choose pension options they can afford. And the story from the Arizona Capital Times actually quotes the city of Bisbee city manager, the Bisbee share of police and fire payroll for pensions is 90%. So every dollar they pay in salary, they pay 90%, 90 cents just for PSPRS benefits. That doesn't speak to vacation, sick, health insurance, and all those kinds of things. So there's actually one system. It's the Capitol Police. I think it's like 110%. So for every dollar they pay $1.10 in PSPRS. Anyways, just a very brief outline of the work of the Pension Task Force. Again, it's something everybody knows that something has to happen. The question is, what should it be? And with everybody agreeing that the current system is unsustainable, what can be done? What should be done to move ahead? And there was a point in time where I think we who served on the task force felt like that we'd made progress to the point where there was maybe a little light at the end of the tunnel. That remains to be seen as potential legislative proposals are debated, and unfortunately, some of the proposals that have been put on the table they'd be challenged legally, and they wouldn't be sustainable long term. I'll try to answer any questions you might have. It's very, very brief, and it's simply, I'd be glad to meet with anybody or provide any information that you might have at any point in time. It's just a matter of just trying to raise awareness.
Any member of the council have any questions? Let me ask you one question. Is the unfunded liability, that started a long time ago when we first incorporated the public safety retirement system?
Theoretically, Mayor Rankin, theoretically, the unfunded liability, the liabilities of any given system started when the system started. So again, we're like on the fire side, we're to the good, but every year we all get older. And so all of the factors that are used in determining, the actuaries use in determining what the contribution rate is based on the benefits that are paid. And as we get a year older, those things all change. And so there is a saying about pension liability: math is the math, and there's some simple arithmetic that's brought forward here.
Do you remember what the unfunded liability was when we started the police department?
It would have been zero, Mayor, because they would not have been able to do any actuarial calculations at that point in time. We didn't have any retirees. And so all of the contributions that were made would have been to the good, and then we would have ultimately been actuarially rated and at some point in time we would see the change in that. But the demographics, that is the tenure, the age, service, and the age of those who participate are the determinants.
And under the new plan and proposals coming out this new year, are they taking a look at getting rid of the drop program?
I do believe that the legislation that's being examined right now would deal with that. Originally, as it was conceived, the deferred retirement was a response to baby boomers reaching retirement. Unfortunately, the drop program didn't do anything but push the retirement tsunami that never really came, but it pushed it down the road, and it guaranteed an interest rate. Unfortunately, statutorily, it guaranteed an interest rate which really, really created a major hole. That's been changed.
Okay. I guess I'd take a look at that at the drop, and not being in the public safety retirement system or anything. I take a look at that as just another jab for, 5 years is a lot of time to pay. And it also increases their benefit when they do finally retire.
Whatever happens, the task force really recognized we want to make sure that we provide for our employees, particularly those that are engaged in putting their lives on the line all the time for all of us. We want to make sure that they're taken care of in retirement, and that the benefit that they earn is in fact available when they're ready to draw it.
I guess I took a look at some of the people I know that are on the drop program, and they're doing the same job as they retired from, and that just doesn't, that double dipping on that, it just kind of makes me kind of upset about that. Any other questions or comments? Scott, thank you very much for the presentation. I'm sure we understand every bit about it.
If you do, then you're doing better than I am.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Item 7, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda will be handled by a single vote as part of the consent agenda, unless a council member or a member of the public objects at the time the agenda item is called. Item A, appointment of Ed Coran to the Arts and Cultural Commission with a term to expire December 31st, 2017. Item B, authorization to enter into a professional service agreement with the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce for calendar year 2016. I'm sorry, that was item B. Item C, approval of a lease agreement between the Town of Florence and Seconds Police on Main, LLC, for Suite 202 at the Silver King Marketplace. Item D, approval of the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce's application for a special event liquor license for the First Thursday's event on July 7th, 2016, and February 4th, 2016, at McFarland State Park. And item E, approval of accepting the registered demands ending November 30th, 2015, in amount not to exceed $2,172,438.06. Mayor, members of council, that is your consent agenda.
Does any member of the council have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda?
I'd like B, as in boy.
Okay, any others? Does any member of the public have anything they'd like taken off the consent agenda? Hearing none, we need a motion.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda with removal of item B.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item B. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item B, please.
Yes, on the contract, it says we'll pay $57,500, but then on section A, at the end, it says the total amount paid for consultant, to consultant for the services shall not exceed $195,000. Why would we have that in there if we're just paying $57,500?
Mayor, members of the council, I believe, and I was not in the negotiations, but I believe that was intended to put kind of an upper cap if the contract is extended out beyond the first year, that there is an amount that's set for this first year, and then if it's extended for each year, that would be negotiated as to the amount that would be paid for that particular calendar year, with the total amount for those 3 years not to exceed $195,000.
Well, I didn't read it that way. I mean, I don't see where it says about the 3-year thing or whatever. I thought we were just dealing with 1 year at a time, but.
Yes, every year it's up for a renewal. And
Right.
It's pretty much $65,000 a year is what it was supposed to be, and that's just how the lawyer at the time worded it. It was 65 for 3 years. That's why it says not to exceed 195. As a chamber, because we feel like we're hitting the goals and we have grown our membership base considerably, over 150 members this last year, we decided to go down to help the town save some money because we know you guys are going through some hard times as well. Hopefully every year coming up, we could keep on lowering the amount we get.
So that we're not locked in on that.
No, and just as a point of clarification, I believe this year the amount is $57,500.
Okay, well, it just didn't, I don't see where it said for the 3 years, but whatever. As long as it's legal and everything, I'm good with it. That threw me when I saw that. Okay, your question's been answered.
Peter, on behalf of the council, I'd like to thank the chamber for coming down on the amount of contribution you're asking for. We really appreciate that. The financial situation we're in, that's going to help us out tremendously, and we really want to thank you and the board and all your members, and make sure and get them to renew their memberships next year. Maybe we can go down a little bit more. I really sure appreciate that. But
Our goal is to be self-sufficient. We have a 3 to 5 year plan to be self-sufficient as a Chamber of Commerce and work in a true partnership where we don't ask you for money, but we actually work together with all the staff and figure out how to help Florence grow and do what a chamber is supposed to do, help business grow.
we thank you for that. We really do.
Well, I want to make it clear, I had no problem with the chamber's performance. I'm just trying to stay physically conservative here, and
I understand you.
I wanted it explained.
Yes.
Thank you.
And our retention percentage is over 90%.
What's that?
Retention, members' retention.
Retention? That's great. Any other questions of the chamber? Okay. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Need a motion?
Make a motion that we pass Section B, the professional services agreement with the Greater Florence Chamber of Commerce for calendar year 2016.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize payment of consent agenda item B. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 8, unfinished business. 8A, discussion approval, disapproval of adopting the following ordinances. First reading of each ordinance was on November 16, 2015. Mayor, members of council, as you'll recall, on November 16th, we went over each of these ordinances and explained that this was a cleanup in our code. How would you like me to proceed? Would you like me to read each of the ordinances, or would you like to read each of the ordinances along with your motion?
Any members have questions?
These are the same ordinances we reviewed in the first reading, correct?
That's correct. No changes have been
No
made.
changes. Okay, we need a motion.
We're gonna do them individually.
Because they're ordinances, we need to go through and adopt each one individually.
Okay.
If you like, I could either read each of the ordinances and read it once by title only, and then you could make a motion to adopt that ordinance, or you could read the motion. The motion could include the ordinance, but they do have to be read out loud by title.
Can we just read by title only? Is that what you're saying?
That is the title, yes, sir.
Okay, let's go by title only. Okay. First one.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 641-15, an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinell County, Arizona, amending Title III, Administration Section 32-012 fees.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 641-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 6425-15, an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinell County, Arizona, amending Title 7, Traffic, 73.11B, parking, standing, loading, or unloading of a commercial motor vehicle on Main Street between Butte Avenue and Ruggles Street, prohibited.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 642-15 by title only. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Make a motion to approve ordinance number 643-15, the town of Florence, Pinell County, Arizona, amending the Florence Code of Ordinances, Title 7, Traffic, 74.10, establishment of fees for services provided by the magistrate court.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 643-15 by title only. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 644-15, an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinell County, Arizona, amending Title 9, General Regulations, 95.07 fees and charges, and 97.039 purchase and transfer of interment.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 644-15 by title only. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 645-15, an ordinance of the town of Florence, Pinell County, Arizona, amending Title 11, Business Regulations, 112.16 license fees, and 11.18 application and fees.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt ordinance 645-15 by title only. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Item 9, new business. 9A, discussion approval, disapproval of authorizing the mayor to sign a letter addressed to Governor Doug Ducey to show the town of Florence's support for Steve Stratton, applicant to fill the vacancy of the Arizona State Transportation Board. Mayor Rinkin, I'll turn this over to you.
This is put on by, I was requested to do this by a man I've known quite a while who's really worked with the ADOT. He was the engineer up in Gila County, and he's putting in an application to be the representative for the 3 counties for this term. Under the state statutes, Pinal is one of 3 counties that has a representative every 4 years, or 6 years, Steve? 6 years, not 4. And Steve has been working with Gila County. Well, it's Gila County's determined time for an appointment to the board. Who's our representative? The ex-mayor of, come on up a minute, Steve. The ex-mayor of Maricopa right now sets as Pinal County's representative, and he's going off. So Gila County has the appointment. What we're doing is, Steve will give you a little background on himself. I'm sure you've probably seen it. But one of the things that, when we were working on Gonzales Pass, going to Superior from here, where there have been numerous accidents, Steve, being from Gila County, was down in Pinal County just about as much as I was up there going to get that taken care of so we didn't have those accidents up there. So I know Steve knows the area and everything, and what I'd like to do is have him kind of talk to you a little bit and see if you wouldn't go along with my recommendation of sending a letter to the governor recommending him for the appointment for Gila County's representatives to the State Transportation Board this year. Steve, you want to go ahead and give your little speech?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff. As the mayor said, this position, first of all, I want everybody to know, is a non-paid position. It is not paid in the least. It's a 6-year term. Each county gets their turn every 18 years. So it's the last representative from Gila County was Ingo Radke. That was when I was the city manager of Globe. Ingo was a very big supporter of Gonzales Pass also. The mayor and I have horse traded, if you will, many times before the 5-year plans. At the 3 meetings, Phoenix, Tucson, and Flagstaff historically are locations every year. We understand the needs of rural Arizona. I'm a 3rd generation rural Arizona. I'm very proud of that. I understand what we need in what we call the TOC, the 13 other counties outside of Maricopa and Pima. I'm a very big advocate of the Casa Grande Accord, which is the funding policy for the state shared or the highway user revenues, the way ADOT allocates the projects. It says that 37% goes to Maricopa, 13% to Pima, and the other 50% has to be spent in the 13 other counties. There are times that we have fought that, the mayor, myself, and many others, because they have tried to alter that plan, and we've stayed fast, and it's still in effect. I'm more than happy to support the projects in Pinal County. As the mayor said, Gonzales Pass was a prime example. The next phase, Silver King, I spent many, many hours on that one. That was going to be pulled from the plan a few years ago, and again, we did some trading around with different chairmen. Friday, I did receive endorsements from the current chairman, Kelly Anderson, 3 past chairmen, Victor Florence, Bobby Lundstrom, and William Feldmeyer, 2 Republicans, 2 Democrats. It's a bipartisan support I'm receiving. I'll be happy to answer any questions for you.
The council should be made aware too that when Pinal County reaches a population of 500,000, which will probably be during your term if you are appointed, under state law. The last law that Supervisor Rios got enacted at and I requested him to do it, was to plan it where Pinal County got a seat on the board and we didn't have to share with Gila County or with Graham County. So we do have that coming up, and I don't know if the mid-decade census is going to take us over the 500 threshold or it'll go into the next census, but I'm sure by then Pinal County will be over 500,000, have its own member on the board. So that's coming up also. But that was one of the things I fought for with Pete to get taken through the legislature and get passed. So I'm pretty happy about that, to Pinal County have its own seat one of these days.
I would be supportive of that. With that type of population, you would deserve your own seat on the board. I would like to say also that I have been attending the board meetings for 13 consecutive years. This has been part of my retirement plan to leave Gila County at the appropriate time, which I did in May, and put my plan in place to serve on the board. So I did accept a position in the private sector in July. I took early retirement. I wasn't due until next February, but it was all part of my desire to serve on this board and serve rural Arizona. One of the benefits of me being at these meetings for the past 13 years, it's a 6-year appointment for a reason. It takes about a year to 2 years to get up to speed for most board members and learn the system and how you do things. Having been there for 13 years, I've missed 5 meetings in 13 years. Having been there and been the person that helped facilitate trades between the board members, I can hit the ground running, so to speak. We won't lose any time, and I can represent our 3 counties well and get what we need for our counties. And I'm willing to do those trades as best we can. I thank you for your consideration and allowing me to be on your agenda.
Thanks, Steve. And if any of you read the paper this week, you saw where the federal government's coming out with more money. So we do need somebody that understands this down here in Pinal County sitting on there. I know Steve does. Any other comment? I need a motion, please.
I think he's got a proven track record, and I make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign a letter addressed to Governor Doug Ducey to show the town of Florence support for Steve Stratton to fill the vacancy on the Arizona State Transportation Board.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to authorize the mayor to sign a letter addressed to Governor Ducey to show the town of Florence support for Mr. Stephen Stratton and his application to fill the vacancy on the Arizona State Transportation Board. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I have a question for you. Can you influence ADOT to fix the bridge on 79 on the Gila? It's falling.
There is no way that one board member can make anything happen. I will, however, listen to the concerns of the people, whether it be the Florence Council, the Casa Grande Council, Pinal County, or Gila County, and will do my best to take care of those problems.
Well, there's a local story on it. They resurfaced that bridge about a year ago.
It's been longer than that when the original resurfacing. Steve's heard this because I've been over to that board and telling him about how bad it was.
Not more than 2 years ago.
Well, that was the second time.
Yeah.
The first time they redid it, it didn't last a year.
Well, they're getting better. It lasted 2 years this time.
And this one's not very good right now.
Mr. Mayor, council person, I will tell you, if I am appointed, I will be asking the council and the members of the staff to attend the public hearings and make those facts known, whether it be online or at the hearings itself. That gives a board member something to work with. It gives them the ability to do more. I have one other thing, if I may, Mr. Mayor. Most people start things with a joke when they come up, lighten things. I thought about that, but I can't beat the joke that the mayor told at one of the public hearings in Flagstaff, I believe it was. He stood up in front of the ADOT board and staff and said that he was the mayor of the largest gated community in Arizona. And there's no way to top that, so I'm not even going to try.
Well, it's true.
I know it is.
But we've got some things done the right way too. I mean, and the support we've gained but him being on the board is going to give us that a little bit more.
Thank you for coming tonight, and we look forward to supporting you.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Anything else? Call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Agenda item B, discussion, approval, disapproval of adopting the developer's sign package submitted by Pulte Homes for the Anthem at Merrill Ranch community. Mr. Mark Eckhoff will be presenting.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Back in 2004, so Pulte started looking at the Anthem at Merrill Ranch property. 2005, they entered into a development agreement, thinking they'd probably be in the project for maybe 10, 15 years. That's a long time. They needed some help to market their development. So within the development agreement, there was a provision that allowed them extra developer signage of all sorts to help them promote their community. The issues were obviously because this was a rural area. This was the first development of this size to occur in Florence. It was pretty much disconnected from a lot of the growth that was north of it. They needed to do everything they could to possibly get people down here, and then once they reached the community, to be able to market their project. So within the community, there's various types of promotional signage, or we call it developers signage. This is a map that Pulte produced that shows, there's the different types of signage around the community. I'll just note that there's a couple of exhibits that have the X across them, and those are the trailers that have been out there for a while. And I'm glad to say that 2 of the trailers have already been removed, and the plan is that the 3rd one will be removed as well. And replaced with a more permanent sign. But the types of signage that are out there, it goes anywhere from A-frames to there is a larger billboard sign. This is a billboard sign that can only be used by Pulte Homes for the marketing of their development. It cannot be used by any other commercial user. This sign for the model home collection in Sun City, because this model home complex is rather permanent. It's been there since the inception. They've changed some of the models, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon. Some promotional signage that's very visible on the water tanks. A couple of wooden signs that are out along some of the stretches leading into the community. And then you'll see these signs, which ultimately, as the community matures, they might be replaced with something else similar that will be directory signage, so people can still know where the different parts of the community are, the recreation centers, the golf course, and so forth. But these are clearly more of a marketing-driven sign used by Pulte, and they occur throughout the community. My remote is just going a little slow here. Additional signage for model home complexes, A-frame signs, more directory signs, parking signs for another model home complex, pricing signs, even flags at model complexes. And then on top of that, with Pulte and the HOA uses various banners to promote specific events that are occurring. And then here's one of the truck signs that was mentioned earlier. On top of all these types of signs, that are used just to promote the community and help Pulte with their sales and marketing, we have the permanent signs, which are quite obvious, but we'll run through and show you the various types of permanent signs. So these are signs that are allowed in the community, and they've gone through the regular approvals to be permanent. And then you have the restaurant sign, which actually just recently went through approvals and was installed. The Safeway project is part of the Anthem at Merrill Ranch Community. That they came up with their own sign plan, and those signs were also approved by the Planning Commission and permits pulled for all of those. So tonight, what we're trying to do is work with Pulte in a partnership, as we've always worked with them, to get their developer sign package approved. I mentioned at the start that they probably were looking at a 10, 15-year project when they started, and of course it's already 10 years plus from when they started, and they're not even halfway done. So they're going to be there a while more, and we believe that this is a partnership that we have with Pulte Homes, and we need to continue to support their efforts to make their community successful. We don't believe that there is a fiscal impact for this. We do believe, and the town attorney has reviewed the development agreement, that there clearly is a mechanism in the development agreement that allows us to go forward with this process. And we would be happy to address any questions that you may have. And I think Dan Bono, Pulte Homes, would also like to come up and just say a few words if he could.
Does any member of the council have any question to Mark?
I've got a question about the trailer. It's always a sore subject with me, but that signs on the trailer is now falling off, so it looks pretty bad.
Councilmember Anderson, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of the council, we have not been extremely pleased with the trailers for quite some time. We've been working with them to get them removed. Believe that this effort is actually, it's brought this item to a head. And like I said, 2 of those trailers have been removed already, and the third one will be removed probably quite quickly. Dan can tell you exactly when. But what they'd like to do is remove that one and then install another permanent attractive sign. And I know that Mayor and Council, that they also have some signs, and that Dan realizes as well, do need a little TLC. There's a couple that are faded out there, a couple that need a little dressing. We want to work on that issue. And we also have been working on, it's an ongoing issue of the banners, of just making sure that they are located in a manner that is not blocking visibility. And Pulte's not out there putting those, but folks that they work with and the HOA and folks that the HOA works with are putting them out there. And occasionally they are a little careless in their placement, and we need to be better at that so that we keep them away from those intersections. And so those are 3 or 4 things that we're going to keep working on. And with that, if Dan would like to come up, if it's okay with you.
Well, I would like to thank Mr. Bono for his cooperation in getting other trailers removed. Thank you, Dan.
You're welcome. Mayor, members of the council, I can keep this brief, and just like to say thanks for working with the town on this. It's been a long time in the coming. I don't think we were aware really that we didn't have this formal sign package approved through the town. Back when we started, a little bit less formal, different planning director. A lot of things were done with more of a gentleman's agreement, if you would. But we have brought forward this sign package to present what we've got in the community. Again, we feel it is necessary as we bring people from outside the community in to direct them where they need to go, whether it's to attend the golf course, one of the rec facilities, or more importantly, to get to one of our model home complexes. A lot of this, what you see, like Mark said, is we have some that's permanent, like the Anthem Grill golf course sign that's behind you, or it's on the screen right now. And a lot of this, again, will be taken away once we're done selling, but unfortunately, we thought we'd be done by now, and we are nowhere near where we'd like to be. So at this point, I'll take any questions, or have anything?
Yep.
I'm okay.
I'm not. Nowhere in any of these signs do I see Florence, Arizona. And that has been a pain in my rear ever since you started out there, Dan. You weren't here when we started, but pretty close.
Pretty close.
But that is one of the things that I think people need to realize, that Anthem is in Florence, Arizona.
Well, I know one of the things that The hospital, when it was approved for a sign, is supposed to say, "Welcome to Florence, Arizona."
It doesn't.
Well, unfortunately, they ran into some problems, and again, we're not affiliated with them. Yes, we did sell them the property, but I know when that sign package went through the town, it did have that provision in there.
Yeah, the thing is, it would sure be nice to, we see the sign at Anthem and at Merrill Ranch. Well, that's in Florence, Arizona. It's not at Merrill Ranch anymore, but according to the contract, and I understand that portion of it.
No, unfortunately,
It seems like we could add Florence, Arizona to some of these signs so people really realize they're in Florence. That's my only gripe about it.
Point taken.
And you'll be getting your letter.
I will be looking for in the mail for that.
Where's he at? Brian? Oh, he's not here tonight. Okay. But I do, Dan. I think that's on a lot of people's mind that we need some recognition that that's in Florence.
No, I know as you go down Hunt Highway, for a time we had the light pole, and we did alternate where we had the town of Florence and Anthem. We went away from that, but definitely something we can take a look at.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. Any other discussion? Need a motion?
Make a motion to approve the developer's sign package submitted by Pulte Homes for the Anthem at Merrill Ranch community.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the developer's sign package submitted by Pulte Homes for the Anthem at Merrill Ranch community. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Item C, resolution number 1569-15, discussion approval, disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a town core incentive plan request for the Florence Apartments Associated LLC, case number PZ 15-60-INF. Mr. Eckhoff will be presenting.
Mayor and Council, while I'm talking about this item, I'm probably going to steal the thunder a little bit for the next item because they're closely related. So I may take some time away from Cliff and Jennifer in their presentations, but this is really quite straightforward. It was earlier in the year, Mayor and Council, that you collectively said that you wanted to support a developer in their efforts of obtaining a substantial grant from the state of Arizona to remodel, to redevelop 3 apartment complexes in the town. The valuation of that project was determined to be close to $4 million. In order to have a strong grant application, they needed to know that we would be willing to support their development in different ways, but specifically in a financial way. And we ended up advising them and making a motion that we would support waivers of fees, which would include building fees, plan review fees, inspection fees, and impact fees in an amount not to exceed $80,000. Well, since that action occurred, we were very pleased to find out that they actually did receive the grant, and the project is going forward. And this is a huge project for the town of Florence. It's a huge investment in these properties. It will improve the housing stock. It will create opportunities for workers, and it will have substantial fiscal impacts. But we do need to, as we noted earlier in the year when we came forward with this item, we said we would, if this goes forward, we'd come back and kind of cross our T's and dot our I's a little bit. There's a couple of things that we need to do here tonight, which are essentially bookkeeping items. One is we would like to put our approval in the form of utilizing the infill incentive district. That is a tool that allows us to make this kind of investment and to support the project, both from the development standpoint and also from the waiver of the fees. And then the other, related to the waiver of the fees, that technically actually has to be handled concurrently, which is in the next item as a development agreement item to be official. And the amount of the impact fees, I'll note, will have to be pulled from the general fund and put into an impact fee account. But that amount is going to be roughly about $60,000 or so we anticipate on the impact fees. So in return for that, again, though, we get an investment of nearly $4 million in this project. And I have a lot more slides to show you, but I believe that you're still all very familiar with the 3 apartment complexes and what their plans are. And I've covered the big points. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to address them.
Member of the council have any questions, Mark? No. Do you need a motion?
Make a motion to adopt resolution number 1569-15, a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a town core incentive plan request for Florence Apartment Associates LLC, case PZ-15-60-15-INF.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1569-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Cliff, Lisa's not here, so you got to read.
I'll jump in here, Mayor, members of the council. Item D, resolution number 1570-15, discussion, approval, disapproval of a resolution of the town of Florence, Pinal County, Arizona, approving a development agreement with Florence Apartments Associates LLC. And as Mark indicated, this is a development agreement that is running concurrently with the incentive approval that you just heard. The incentive plan requires such an agreement to accompany this type of approval for this kind of circumstance. The development agreement tracks what Mark outlined as the incentives in this case, and in return, the town is getting tangible and intangible significant benefits for the waiver of the fees. And just as one item of correction and clarification, I believe the plan review fees that are waived were a certain amount, and then the development impact fees were actually $54,000, not $60,000, and the total is up to $80,000. And part of the reason for the development impact fee waiver is to allow the developer to get the credits through the program, because the amount of the other types of fees weren't going to be high enough to meet that criteria. And as Mark correctly noted, and we've worked with the finance manager on this issue, the statutes involved require that when you waive an impact fee, it must be reimbursed, not out of another impact fee, but out of general fund money. So we plan to follow the statute. If you have any questions, I'm glad to answer them. I believe our developer representative is also here this evening, if you'd like him to step forward.
Member of the council have any questions for Cliff? Hearing none, I need a motion.
Make a motion to approve resolution number 1570-15.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt resolution 1570-15. Any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the question. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Department reports. You all have your department reports. There's some of our department heads are here tonight. If there's any questions for any of them? Seeing no movement, we'll go to the call to the public. This is the second call to the public. Anyone from the public have anything they'd like to say at this time? Seeing no movement, we'll close call to the public, call to the council. John?
Just like to thank the town for the downtown parade, the Christmas parade, and still concerned about the way that the fees were handled. I want to talk to the town manager about that, see if we can get a better definition on the fees and who has to pay a fee and who doesn't have to pay a fee.
We'll do that when he comes on board. Becky?
No, I'll just ditto John said.
Bill?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank all the community that came out for the parade. It was a great turnout. The weather was beautiful. It was, I think, the best weather we've had for the parade, and the staff did a great job.
Karen?
I just want to ditto what everybody else has said. The only thing that I observed was that we don't have a town Christmas tree. And I was wondering if that might be something we could consider next year.
I can tell you this, it's already being talked about.
Oh, good. But it was a great event. I was so impressed with the attendance. It was huge, and specifically the small children who were having a great time all night.
Valerie?
I don't have anything.
Vice Mayor?
I don't have anything this evening.
Christmas parade was neat, but the neatest thing about it was seeing Main Street with people on it and in it, all up and down. I mean, those are some of the things I remember as a kid growing up here during rodeo weekend. That's the way it used to be. The spirit of the parade was great. That's the whole thing. That's the reason we're here, for that parade. As I said earlier tonight, let's don't forget Pearl Harbor Day. I know when I was going to school here in Arizona, that was one of the big history days of Arizona was here. We've got Christmas coming up in just a short time. School gets out this week here in Florence. I want to make sure all the kids have a happy holidays, drive safely, watch out for the kids as they're out on the streets. They'll be out running around again. And we just want to make sure that they have a happy holiday and a safe holiday. All I can say is I'm just happier than heck I live in Florence, Arizona, and not San Bernardino, California. And keep those people in your prayers as we go through our life. This country needs the help. Need a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn to executive session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adjourn to executive session. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.